Today is January 22nd, 2020. My name is Blair Williams, and I am here today with Patrick Murphy in your home. So, Mr. Murphy, the first thing I like to ask is, how did your family come to live in Cumberland County?
Well, I think it would have been my great-grandfather came from Maryland. And then my dad, he was a rail sport. He's like Abe Lincoln. You know, he made the rail fences for farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't wire, but it was wood. He had a machine and he did that, yeah. So he's tall and skinny, like Abe, you know, and he did that for a living. That was my great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now he had a daughter, which would have been my dad's mother. But anyhow, she died in childbirth.
Mm.
Okay? So then my great-grandfather adopted my dad. And actually, his daughter had my dad out of wedlock. But then when my great-grandfather adopted him, I gave him a Murphy name. I think his supposed father was her name McGrider or something like that. Could have been Irish. But anyhow, he didn't have anything to do with it, you know.
Mm.
He was a, whether you say slam bang, thank you ma'am, one of them kind of deals, you know.
Yeah.
Pregnant, here, a good, it happened to me in, didn't happen to me, but I saw it in the Maslins. A lot of like young girls that a little bit slow maybe or something got pregnant all the time. Guy give them a sweet line, you know, and next thing you know they're in bed. And I pitied the poor girls like that. And that's how I met my wife from working at Maslins. But anyhow, so my grandpap then, great-grandpap raised my dad with the Murphy name. And so, like I say, then my dad was, they lived in Cumberland County, pretty much. In fact, the first dead person I ever saw was my great-grandpap, the one that adopted my dad. And, you know, they had him viewing right in the home, not at a funeral director.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at him, wanting to know what happens if people die, you know, and I was like 4 or 5 or 6 years old when I first started remembering things, you know. And we lived down in Churchtown. So then my dad, he came home he was a World War I veteran. And he laid in that mustard gas and he got shelled. He had Purple Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And he was out of it for a while. During one of the battles, he never talked too much about his service connection. Well, a couple of things he did, but he turned to alcohol and he smoked. He laid in that mustard gas. And it ate up one of his lungs. It ate all the hair off his body. And when I was growing up, he was in the hospital a lot. But then he started drinking. And he started not physically abusing my mother, but mentally and all that. He'd call her everything under the sun when he was drinking. When I was just a little kid, I slept with my dad when I was growing up. And when he was drunk, and he never tried to molest me. That's the only good thing. And the other good thing about him is he never tried to drive a car. But he turned to alcohol, and he smoked. So the smoke took the other lung. So he died when he was only 60 years old. And my mom, she lived to be 91. So now I'm 96. So anyhow, when I got to be about 14, something like that, I used to stand up to my dad. I always said this to everybody. I said, I was a mommy baby. I love my mom. But I said, I can't say I love my dad. But I tolerated him, you know, like some other people that I knew. But anyhow, so Back when I was growing up, I started standing up to my dad. I never hit my dad, but he tried to hit me when he was drinking. But most times he'd get in a fight with somebody, he'd argue with them, and they'd end up he boxed. When he was sober, he was okay. I mean, he knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was drinking, he'd argue with people, and the next thing you know, they'd punch him. And he'd get the worst of it. He was only like 5'5". Well, I was 5'7". Well, anyhow, I got about 14, 15 years old. I used to stand up to my dad. I'd shove him up against the wall in the house when he'd keep us up at night and say, "You old goat." But he tried to punch me, but, he was drinking. Because he's the one that taught my brother, Terry, 2 years younger than me, and he got us boxing gloves. And he told me this. He said, when you go to the Army, I was drafted. Mm-hmm. My brother Terry, he was, enlisted. But anyhow, so he bought us boxing gloves and taught us how to box. When he was sober, I mean, we'd try to hit him when we couldn't, He'd just laughing like that. And all right, when my mom passed away last and we sold the house, we rented out the attic. A lot of stuff gets up in the attic. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, so we could only find one set of boxing gloves. So I told my brother Terry, I said, I think they're my boxing gloves. I said, because most of that blood on there is yours. I said, I'll just let you have the gloves. But then that helped me when I was in the service. I mean, you'd go out there in calisthenics and all that kind of stuff, and they'd put boxing gloves on. And the right column would make a left face. The left column would make a right face. And whoever you were across from it, you'd spar with boxing gloves. Well, you're always a bigger guy than me, But I was holding my own with them because I knew a little bit about it. They were swinging like this, and I could see all that's coming. But anyhow, captain came by one day while we were sparring there like that, and the guy was a buddy of mine I was sparring with, so we're not trying to hurt each other.
Yeah. So,
and I was just jabbing him and keeping him off balance, and he's swinging and missing me, and maybe hitting in the back of the head instead of the head, juking. Captain came by and he said, you done some boxing before, didn't you? I said, well, Dad taught me. I said, he's a World War I veteran. Okay. I said, they got a good jab there. He said, how about a right cross? I said, just a minute. So I just, jabbed him a couple of times and then come right across. He said, that's pretty good. He said, how about coming out for our boxing team? I said, no, thank you. That's the best move I made. Because I had two buddies, real buddies, and they were big guys. And, they were real close buddies. And one of them finally in elimination why they got to box each other. And the one he just slaughtered the other guy. I couldn't imagine you hurting a buddy like that. I mean, he was so outclassed from his buddy. And I just thought that could have been me, my weight, not a heavy weight, but
Mm-hmm.
So now where you want me to go?
Well, before we started filming, you talked about growing up, going to a one-room schoolhouse. So did you, when you were first going to school, did you live in Boiling Springs, or had you already moved to Marlton?
We lived out in what they call Gutshall Road.
Okay.
Are you acquainted with the area?
A little bit.
Well, you know where Gutshall is?
I kind of. My supervisor, one side of her family is the Gutshall family, so she talks a little bit about that area out in yeah.
See, whenever I said I went to school and walked home then,
Yep.
that was just down the hill. So then we moved from there
So that was
the Gutshall Road.
all right. So that was a one-room schoolhouse out in Monroe Township?
Yeah, it was Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. Okay.
Right now it's went into a house. People live in it now for the school. And that was all right from what we called the Black House where I lived, where I could see that school when I walked home. But then when we got up to Gutshole, I had a little farther to walk. And then we had a teacher who was handicapped. She walked from Bowling Springs out to school. She had trouble walking. She's crippled in her legs. And so it was this way. In snowy weather, if the teacher got to school, you had school. If the teacher didn't get to school, you didn't have school. A lot of times, we'd walk up to think school because nobody around. So now you had to walk home. Teacher didn't make it. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
And then as we got older, they had the way you sat in the school in the areas was the low seats were for little kids, like first, second, third grade. Then as you got older, you got the bigger seats. And I always liked that because I would like to hunt, and we could look out. When I got to being older and sat in the big seats, I sat on the left side of the school room, and I could look down towards the mountain. Right now, Brymesters live in the farms. Did you ever hear them?
No.
Well, one of them has hogs.
Okay.
Stanley. Sheldon has the cows. He lives down towards you, and Cotswold Drive more. But anyhow, so there's three brothers, Sheldon, Stanley, and Steve Brymester. And they bought Steve out. He didn't want to do the farming. So Sheldon, he got the cows, Holsteins, black and white. And Stanley has the hogs. And Stanley lives in a house that was right next to where my grandparents lived.
Okay.
But anyhow, so they're still Stanley and Sheldon's still in business. Sheldon bought half the mountain from White Rock Acres clear up this way to Henry Criswell Drive, which goes towards the mountain, not down towards the treatment plant. Okay, that's Criswell Drive. But anyhow, Sheldon bought the whole mountain after they had already timbered it off at a real cheap price, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's all grown up again. It's good hunting. For years I got a permit from Sheldon to hunt down there. I shot a doe down there one year up in the mountain a little ways, not right along the woods. And but I used to go down there and hunt squirrels. And there used to be what they call Bell's Hoover's Woods. And it was shutted out into the field a little ways. There was a wood there. Real big trees. And when I started hunting, I used a 410, single barrel 410. I'd sit there under a tree, and there'd be a squirrel on the tree I was sitting under. I wouldn't shoot at it because it was up so high. I knew I couldn't kill it. I'd have to wait till the squirrel come down the tree some before I'd shoot at it. I did that for many times. I'd sit there and watch them, and every now and then the squirrel would miss a holt and he'd fall down. It didn't seem like it ever hurt the squirrels when they do that. So I used to hunt down there a lot of times, and Sheldon would give me permission to do that. But now I don't, because we hunt behind where my son lives, and 2 doors down here, my cousin Bob Whitcomb used to be a school teacher up here. He was in World War II. He was in the Navy, and he bought 10 acres out there off of what is the guy's name? I forget what his name is. Off of Red Tank Road. He bought some back to the mountain there, and now we have a son, Scott Whitcomb, Bob's son. He's a big shot somewhere. He don't hunt or anything anymore, but plays golf. But anyhow, he gave us permission. My son burns wood for heat. So Scott said, you can hunt out there, And any trees that's down, you can have it. Don't cut any live trees down.
Yeah.
My son don't like to cut trees down because they fall on you sometimes. They hang up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, so we got permission out to hunt out there now. And this past hunting season, my grandson, my son's Brian, we call him Bud, and Jeremy lives over here on Wolfsburg Road. They go out there. They both shot buck out there in 2019. And I was hoping I'd go out there too. I was out there with them. They even got me a blind to set in, but I didn't get one.
No.
But my grandson shot his. Well, he picked me up. The change of the hunting season now. The first day of buck season was on Saturday instead of the Monday before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
They just changed it. So anyhow, when Jeremy picked me up out here like 5 o'clock in the morning, we were going out to the woods. He's going to meet his dad out there. And I told him, I said, for 2 years in a row, my grandson, about 4:30 in the evening, he shot his buck out there. I said to Jeremy when we were going out this past year, I said, I have a feeling that you're going to get your deer earlier this year. So when did he get it? 7:30 in the morning. 6 point.
Wow.
And then second day, which had been Monday, my son, he got a deer, a buck. Out the same place. And Jeremy was with him. But he wasn't hunting.
Yeah.
Just using his binoculars. And Jeremy, the first day, after he had shot his buck, he drug it down to the car. Then he come up and sat outside the blind with me. But I could see here out of the blind and this way, but I couldn't see back here.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy was sitting outside the blind with these binoculars. And finally, he reached inside and he tapped him on the shoulder. And he said, I couldn't see the deer. He said 3 deer later on. He told me that 3 deer walked down back in bed. I couldn't shoot a doe anyhow. The first week, you can't shoot a doe.
Mm.
I didn't see them, but they were behind me. He sat there with me all day after he dug his deer down. Beside me, and Jeremy did. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so he's a good hunter too. But I'm hoping they get some more great-grandchildren. But I have 2 great-granddaughters up there. One of them just graduated from high school.
Wow.
They live out in Oklahoma. But anyhow, they were both girls. They were 2 of my youngest son. He had my granddaughter picture up there. You see him?
Oh, yeah.
My wife's on this side. That's when she started getting sick.
Mm.
And then my granddaughter, she died when she was 30. She had 2 operations on her brain.
Mm.
They never called it cancer, but they just called it mass.
Mm-hmm.
If they took everything, they made her a vegetable.
Mm.
So they took first operation, tried to get what they could, sewed her up, and within a year she's come back. She's 30 years old, and she's a mother to 2 girls.
Mm.
She died out in Oklahoma. She's getting sick, and she kept telling her husband and her mother. My youngest son was married twice. It was his first wife, his daughter. And she said, I'd like to see Pappy. And so I was before I got where I would stick by the walk now. I can still walk, but walking in an airport, you know how that would be.
Yeah.
And my hearing, I was working through hearing aids, and some was working, some weren't. Right now I only have the one in I can hear. But I don't know what, maybe I can clean it, earwax out of it. But anyhow, so I'm thinking I'd like to go out and see Mandy before she gets so bad, and And I found out her cousin that lived in here. See, what we used to do was, Bud's wife, she worked like all her life. So we babysit Jeremy, my grandson, so when he's growing up. I'd go out to Oklahoma and get Mandy. She's 4 years older than Jeremy. We'd go out and get her, bring her in, and we'd be babysitting. My wife and I'd be babysitting their 2 grandkids over the summer months.
Yeah.
And then I went out a couple of times, it stayed a day or two to bring her in. And after she got to be like 12 years old, then I'd just send her money to get a ticket to come in, and she could come in herself, except one time. She missed her flight one time.
Mm.
I paid $25 extra to have the girl, whatever they call them, stewardess, sort of hand carried her on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandy said they were, I think, in St. Louis, changing planes. And she said she was standing over there, this stewardess was standing over there talking to another stewardess, and she said, I think I heard him mention my flight. And she's like 12 years old. But she said, and the stewardess didn't say anything. So she missed her flight. Mm-hmm. So at 25, she was supposed to be wearing like a red, like a rose or something, some kind of a thing on her.
Yeah.
To signify she's the one that's supposed to. So anyhow, she missed her flight. So I'm down in Harrisburg, the airport, waiting for him to come in. I get a page to come to, answer the phone. And here's a saying that my granddaughter had missed her flight. Mm-hmm. So then they gave me some information. They were going to put them up at a hotel. I was okay. So I wrote that phone number down. And my wife answered the phone when they come home then, and they said the hotel will be calling you, telling you where they're at and their phone number. So we come home and my wife answered the phone. She usually don't answer the phone, my wife, but she answered the phone that time. But anyhow, they said she was coming by, went to a hotel so-and-so and phone number so-and-so, call. You want to talk to, well, Mandy's 12 years old. I'm thinking she might be hysterical now about, missing her flight. But anyhow, so I called the number. I got a resident in St. Louis. So 1 or 2 numbers must have been different than my wife wrote down. So I didn't get the right. So now I'm here. This is like 12 o'clock at night. And I thought, now what do I do? After a while, the phone rang again. I answered it. And here, they couldn't take them to that hotel. Now they were taking her to another hotel. He gave me another number. So now I said, this guy said, they're not here yet, but he said they're coming to the hotel. Mm-hmm. I said, I have a granddaughter coming to your hotel. And I said, when she comes to the hotel there, I said, you have her call me. Then I gave him my number. And the next thing you know, phone rang again, and here was Mandy. And she's all jolly and nice, and I said, how you doing, girl? I said, I know you missed your flight and all that, and said, how you doing? She said, oh, I'm doing fine, and she's giggling, and I thought, I shouldn't even ask her to call me. She's okay.
Yeah.
I said, what's going on? So what's so funny? She said, well, another girl and I is sharing a room in the hotel, and she said, a couple kid boys, she said, trying to get in to see us. We got the door locked, she said. So I said, okay. So I said, now call your mom. You call your mom and tell her what happened. So she said she did, but so then now I went down to Harrisburg to renew her ticket. Well, they said, we can't do that. It wasn't our fault, which it wasn't. With the stewardess out there caused a problem. But they weren't going to renew a new ticket to her for free, But I argued with them, so they finally did. they finally gave her another ticket from where she was at into Pennsylvania. And then the next time I went down, she was there. But anyhow, one time we went out to Washington State to see my niece. I had a nephew on my wife's side that enlisted in the service, and he been over 20 years there. And he lived he's still in the service. He was at Fort Riley. We went out to see him. I drove out there, Fort Riley, Kansas, and then he went to Fort what do they call it? Fort the one in Washington State, Fort Lewis, Washington. He was stationed out there, so we flew out there. Okay, so now. My wife and I drove to Kansas, but I didn't drive to Washington State. We took a plane. My wife didn't want to fly a plane. She's scared, all the stuff you read about planes crashing and stuff like that. I wasn't too hairy about it either at first, but everything turned out okay. But anyhow, so on the way back now, we had to go to Seattle to get our flight, and so my niece lived out there. She took me up to Seattle. She was way down south in Washington State, and so she took us up to get our flight time. And right away, when she gave me the flight stuff, it didn't sound right. The only thing that didn't sound right was the time when they're supposed to leave. So, I thought, well, maybe that's nothing to that. Well, okay. Well, it turned out that was a big thing, Well, anyhow, that flight, we were going to pick up Mandy. We were going to pick up Mandy in Oklahoma. Okay, so I tried to, instead of go down to Atlanta and come up to Pennsylvania, go to Oklahoma instead. Anyhow, so we figured a flight to Oklahoma. Okay. So now when we got to where was it? It stopped first. St. Louis. When we stopped for change planes in St. Louis, I right away, according to the literature I had, that my flight was supposed to be leaving within 45 minutes. So now I'm going to be looking for a gate and go there and sit and wait. Because, you go from one end of the airport to another. So now I go to the board and look. I don't see any flight according to my paperwork. I can't see nothing anywhere. So I went over to the information booth and I told her, I said, what's going on here? I said, my flight's going to be leaving within an hour and not even listed. And she said, oh, that flight's been canceled. Okay, know what to do. I don't have any forwarding to Oklahoma. I have to go, and a lot of other people was in the same predicament. So I got in line with all these people. My wife, she's sitting there. We can't get somebody to call, and finally I got forwarding. Okay. So we flew into St. Louis, I guess, and no granddaughter around. And so I got one lady there at the information thing, and I got to page my granddaughter. Every 5 minutes she paged her. Well, they weren't there. What they done was waited for the original flight, which was already past due, and her and her mother and her stepfather now went across the street to a restaurant to get something to eat. They're not even there.
Wait, what year was this?
That was probably St. Louis.
No, what year?
I don't know. Like I said, it was she's 30 years old. I'd been probably 12, 13. Well, I don't know, but
It was in the 80s, though? Or?
yeah, it was, anyhow, it was when she should have been, but that wasn't my fault. It was airport. They gave me forward and then from into Harrisburg, okay. But then what happened was a different flight. So now I'm looking for my baggage. I can't find it down in Harrisburg.
Mm.
Now, my son, who lives over in Perry County, was supposed to be picking us up. Okay. So flights weren't going out of Harrisburg after midnight. So everything comes to a standstill down at the airport at midnight. But the last flight in, there was all kind of cabbies sitting there waiting to transport people, right? So I thought, well, this is not my fault. They'll reimburse me, but they didn't. So I went and I told them I couldn't find my baggage. I guess they made a note of it. And 2 days later, they called me. Said my luggage was down there. I said, can you deliver it? No. So I went back down to Harrisburg, get my luggage, and I still thought I was going to get my money back, but it didn't. So what happened was, I come home here, I had the house all locked up. We were gone for a week.
Mm-hmm.
John Garman lived down here. The guy built Molly Garman's place down here. They bought it, put a new garage up back here in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
But back then we were using a 50-gallon drum to burn a garbage or gun to garbage paper and stuff like that. You were allowed to do it, but now you daren't. But anyhow, so I come home and I put all the windows up, open them up, let some air in the house just goes stagnant here. What happens? He was burning stuff down there in his garbage can, and then where's the smoke coming? Right up through and right in my house.
Mm.
So I had to shut all the windows back up. Now this is like I say, I had to get cabbie. I asked the cabbie, I said, how much is it going to cost me to go to Bowling Springs? Where's Bowling Springs? I had a cabbie from Harrisburg, it didn't know where Bowling Springs was. So I had to direct him home. So, my son's already gone. He waited past due to pick me up and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so now I'm fuming. I get home and now the smoke coming in the house. I go down and I beat on his door at 1 o'clock in the morning. He comes to the door, John was, he died in the meantime, so Molly did too. They sold the house and they got nice people down there, come from Connecticut down there. He tore the old garage down and put a new garage up. But anyhow, I went down, beat on the door, and John come to the door and I said, John, I said, I'm away for a week. I said, and I come home, I said, in your burn barrel, I followed the smoke trail down to where it was. And I said, I come home and open the house up to clean the air out, and I said, your burn barrel's smoking and it's coming right up in my house. He said, oh, I took care of that. I said, okay. I said, come up to your burn barrel. I come up around the street, he come up to his yard. We met back there, and I said, what's that look like? It was smoking, Oh, I'm sorry, he said. I'm terrible sorry, but I'll take care of that. Then later on, when I wasn't going away, I had smoke coming up from there too, and it was the second time, but I wasn't upset like I was the time before. So I went down and told him again, and I said, bless you.
Thank you.
But I went down and I said, beat on the door again, and I said, John, I said, I'm not going to tell you this again. But I said, if that smoke comes up in my house again, I said, there's going to be a constable rapping their door. So then my wife, she would walk down to the post office a couple of days after that. I guess he didn't like the way I talked to him. He's a big guy anyhow, but I got along with his wife good, but I didn't get along with John. Then my wife went down to the post office one day. So I lived here since 1950. So she walked down by his house there one day, and he saw her, and he come and talked to her. And she started giving her a bad time. And she comes home and upset about it. And I come home from work. She told me about it, and I went right down, and I said, you want to talk to me about the smoke? And don't say anything to my wife. I said, you talk to me. But I said, the next guy that's going to rap on their door is going to be a constable, not me. I said, you're going to pay a fine. But then, one time I went down there, I think they were away then. He left it burn, and I guess he throw some water on it a bit, don't put it out. I went down there and he had crushed stone in the alley. I took the lid of his burn barrel and filled it up with stone and then dumped it in the thing. I said, you might have seen some stones in your burn barrel, because I said I tried to put the smoke out. But anyhow, they both passed away. But I knew him from before. He used to work at AMP, and my son worked there for 30 years. And Tyco and AMP. But anyhow, my son finally lost his job. And then he went on unemployment, insurance. And I can't believe it, he was on 2 years. And he kept putting off going to interviews for other jobs and all that kind of stuff. They had to go in and sign up every week or something to activate his, But he had 2 years, and then he got to be 62, and I told him, I said, get out of there, get out of it. So he retired then. But anyhow, then they moved out of state. She had to run clear over to East Berlin. Had to go over there, to the plant over there. He had to drive way over there. What he started out with, just going to Colorado. But anyhow, so I got out when I was 62 too, and I got my wife signed up when she was 62. But what happened is I met her at Wamaslins, and we got married, and then we got married in 19. I got out of service February 2nd, 1946. I didn't do anything for a year. I figured I deserved the time off. I didn't have a girlfriend or nothing. I sent an allotment home to my mom. Me and the next to the oldest, and we had a tough going. Had a grocery bill down here at Weiss's store, down there where Tony DeLuca is now. And then I had an uncle who was a carpenter, and he built a laundry room on the house out there, and had an outstanding bill there with my uncle. And I sent the money home to my mom I said, keep the family going, because I was next to the oldest. I can't remember my brother Terry in the Navy doing anything like that.
Now, is Terry the oldest, or?
Now, my sister was 15 months older than me. She was the oldest.
And what was her name? And
then I was next.
Okay.
And then Terry, 2 years younger.
What was your oldest sister's name?
My sister Jane. She married a guy with a retired Army guy. And they both passed away. But she smoked, so.
And then you said then it was Terry. And then I met another one of your sisters, Fern.
Now she's next to the baby.
Yep. So who was
Jane was 15 months older than me.
Okay.
Then that's what I say. I said, if I act funny, I said, just figure it this way. When I was born, it was a real cold November night, or day, I guess it was. I said, and my dad had to hold me in the oven of the stove to finish baking me. I keep telling people that. because my sister was born in 1922. I was born in 1923. My brother Terry was born in 26. My sister Faye, she was born in 1930. Jane Fern was born in 32, and then brother Tim was born in 1940. So I was the only one born in an odd year. So that's why I acted odd. I said, I was the only one born in an odd year. But my sister Jane and I, we fought when we was kids clear up till we was adults. She tried to dominate me because she's older than me, 15 months. When she wouldn't get her way, she'd bite me. I told Mom that, and she said, well, bite her back. I wouldn't bite her back, but then I started slapping her back when she'd bite me. When we got older, she got married to this man, Army man. He was a gung-ho sergeant, and he wouldn't take too much off a guy, but he took all kind of crap off my sister. But she always said to me when we couldn't get along, she said, we called him Demps, like Dempsey, the prize fighter.
Yeah.
Jack Dempsey.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, so we'd fight, and I'd sort of get the best of her, and she'd say, do you want me to go down and get Demps? He'll take care of you. Well, I'd made up my mind. I got along real well with him. He went to World War II in Korea. He almost got killed over in Korea. And then he retired before he got to Vietnam. So he had over 20-some years. But then he started working down at Camp Hill Industrial Center, the boys down there. He was in the print shop down there. Got a bunch of these kids, not real bad, but, before they get real bad. He said he got along real well with the kids. I said, that's because you're an old sergeant. But different times he punched an officer when he was in the Army, and he got busted. Busted him down to a private. 6 months later, he's a sergeant.
It was meant to be.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
And I'd made up my mind what my sister would say, and say, if Demps ever, we call him Demps, if Demps ever made an issue of what she was telling him, well, I wasn't going to fight him. He'd probably beat me anyhow in a fair fight, but he never said a thing about things that she might have been telling him about me. But anyhow, he was a good guy. I liked him. He got along real well. And in our VFW, he's the only one that went district. He went from commander of the post, commander of the county council, and then 18th district. He went to 18th district as commander. He's the only one that went that far in our VFW up here. We had another one, John Agee. He went to county, and he worked at Madeline's. I knew him well. I used to play ball against him.
Well, you mentioned, so you got done with the Army in 46. You took a year off.
Oh, yeah, I think I deserved the time off. But anyhow, a lot of my buddies was getting out of service. All my whole class, a lot of them listed, they got their diploma in 43, and they didn't have to finish school. Anyhow, so a lot of my buddies were getting out of service too, so we all started getting together back, so we had got parties and stuff when we were in school too, but we had Harry Gauch. He was in my class. He could play the guitar and stuff, and he had an older brother, John Gauch, and he'd get the beer for us. He'd get our beer. We weren't old enough to get the beer. And we had a guy that used to be neighbors out here in Gutchell Road, Dave Smith. He had a cabin down in Monroe Township. They used to rent people. We'd rent his cabin, and we'd go out there for a weekend and play a guitar and play cards and, and drink the beer.
Because you were telling me earlier that back when you were going to high school, Monroe Township, there was no Cumberland Valley at that point, so your high school was Boiling Springs. Is that correct?
Yep.
So these are all Boiling Springs buddies of yours?
No, what happened to me when I was going to the one-room school out there is we still done our shopping in Boiling Springs, you know. So I'd come in with the express wagon. We didn't even have a phone. We didn't have electric lights or nothing. We used kerosene lights. I'd bring the 5-gallon kerosene container in to get down here to Weiss's store. Anyhow, so the out of town, me being an out of town kid, these Boiling Springs kids would fight with me, try to run me out of town. I had one guy lived down here in Front Street. He's notorious for picking on me, but he was a coward. He'd do something to me and then run. Because the first time we did that, I punched him a couple times.
Yeah.
And my dad told me this. He said, if I ever hear of you running from a fight when you go in their town, he said, I find that out. He says, I'm going to give you a whipping when you come home. So I made his weapons, he used a razor strap when he used to lick us. He used a straight razor.
Yep.
You know, I first used a straight razor. Then when I went to the Army, I wasn't allowed to have it. I used a safety razor. Now I graduated to electric razor. But anyhow, so the one time we was coming in here and I'd come up to the park down there and they just cut the grass down there. And it turned out to be a guy that I went to school with and when I come into Boiling Springs School. He was a big kid. See, we didn't have football. I don't think they started football in Boiling Springs up here till 45. But anyhow, so we had some guys that was good in basketball and baseball. One of them was Paul Paxton.
Okay.
And this Roy Lutz is a big guy. He was in the Marines. And Paxton was in the Navy. But anyhow, I was coming up to the park there, going to the store, and they were over there. This Roy Lutz and a couple other guys were over there throwing this grass that they'd mowed, throwing them at each other, you know. Big hands full of grass. Well, I had nothing in it. See, I'd go walking on by, trying to be, you know, straight. After a while, a big bunch of this grass hit me in the face. So as BNC was as closest to me, I went right over to him. He's a big guy. He turned out to be in my class at school when I come into Boiling Springs. The one who went to the Marines. Okay? So I'm standing there, we're talking, you know, back and forth to one another. We hadn't done anything, but so there's a guy, older guy, wasn't married yet, a Minnick, sitting over there in one of the swing sets with his girlfriend then, before he was married. He comes walking over. And he said to Roy Lutz, he said, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? So that broke us up. I didn't get a weapon. Because he'd probably whip me. Roy, when we come in there to go to high school together, he never mentioned that.
Yeah.
You know, we had a problem. We didn't have a problem in school. But like I say, they didn't have football. And when they come out of the service, they come out of the Marines, Paxi come out of the Navy. They went to Dixon College on the scholarship fund. And they both started as a football player. Roy Lutz was on the line. Paxi was a quarterback, and he'd never played football in high school. But I didn't have any trouble. I played baseball, but I never could hit a baseball.
No?
But I could hit a softball. Well, the bats were different, you know. When I played, when the Army, I played on the battery team in softball. They had a baseball team too, but I didn't even try to get on it because I couldn't hit a baseball. But I played baseball up here, and I couldn't hit nothing. I played the outfield, and they had shuttled me, and another guy was a grade ahead of me in school. He played right field, and I played right field, different times. I got a B bubbler thing for my sweater
Yeah.
for playing baseball. But then I played pretty good softball in the service. And then when I come home, I played for Maslin's, and Maslin's always had, all of the departments had different teams. So 2 different years, the team I played for won the championship for the Maslin's. And then I bowled, and 1 year we won the bowling league that I bowled for. I ended up 1 year with 172 average in bowling, which is pretty good. That's making some bears.
Yeah.
But I never bowled 3 200 games. I bowled 600 2 different times for 3 games, but I never bowled 3 200 games. My best game was 247. I think I had 6 or 7 strikes in a row.
Wow.
So we had a kitty. If you got a double and strikes, everybody in the team give you a nickel. If you got a spare or split, made a split, they'll give you a nickel. So over the course of all the years that I bowled, I made out pretty good. I had one other guy who was bowling on our bowling team, was a good bowler, Jim Henry. He was a good bowler. He could make spares. He was the only one who had a higher average on my team. But anyhow, so then I met my wife in there.
So you took a year off, partied a little bit. Then did you go to work for Maslin's in 48, or?
Like I say, I looked to the first year, but I figured I missed 2 hunting seasons, 2 fishing seasons.
Yep.
And yet I wasn't in 3 years. So my buddies and I, they all all fished and hunted and stuff like that. So we did that, and we partied.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But anyhow, so we didn't go to work.
But then, so when did you start at Maslin's?
In January the 27th, 1947.
1947. Okay.
Almost a year, because
Yep.
February the 1st or 2nd is when I got out of service, 46. But anyhow, so what happened was, let's see, before I even met my wife, when I first got out, the year I didn't do nothing. I paid my mother for doing my laundry and stuff like that, and I was her agitator. Didn't have electric then. You had the whole thing, and I'm working her clothes, And then the ringer, you had like that, no electric. That's why I was a mummy boy, because I love my mom, and I helped her wash.
Yeah.
Even hang the clothes up on the line outside for her.
I don't think I ever got your parents' names.
But anyhow, what I wanted to say was, we owed this bill, the grocery bill in Weiss's store, and I owed for our uncle had built onto the house out there. And when I come home, I found out my mother, the money I was sending home, a lot of it, she was putting in a savings account for me. She wasn't spending it for the family.
Yeah.
She worked in Maslin's.
Okay.
She worked for her brother. Her brother was the boss in there. And that's who I was named after, Patrick Lester Smith. So anyhow, what I did, I got mother, come into Weiss's store, paid off the grocery bill, I paid it off, went and got my uncle, paid off what we owed for building a laundry room in our house out there, paid that off. But I don't remember my brother Terry doing anything like that.
Yeah.
So I did that. Then I went to Maslin's and I met my wife, and she was ashamed to take me over to see her mother. She lived in Prairie County, but she rented a room in Carlisle on that North Howard Street, right across from my Maslin's. But anyhow, so I met her, and I found out after I met her probably in March or April of 47, and so that Christmas, the reason we picked Christmas is that's when my mom and dad was married. I gave her an engagement ring, 47. Then we went together for a whole year. In 1948, I married her. So then I found out out of her family, 14 kids, she was next to the baby. I found out that they had a grocery bill over in Prairie County. So I went over and paid that. I couldn't, the people had the grocery store was out of business for years and they were old, like me now.
Yeah.
The guy, he had to go through, I was over there, I was in there probably an hour before he could find the papers where, how much he owed, her family owed him. Because he couldn't find it, he figured never to get any money, you know. But I paid off that grocery bill. And that was before I married my wife.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know. But what I was doing good when I was in the service was, I didn't smoke. I took my allotment of cigarettes. I kept them. I black marketed them with the Germans. Philip Morris cigarettes.
Yeah.
Get $50, $60 a carton.
Not bad.
Finally they got to where they put a restriction on how much money you could have. Like they knew your rank and they knew how much you got to that. They allowed like probably 10% for gambling, you know, cards or shooting dice and stuff like that. But that's about it, right? And then they started clamping down on fraternizing Germans. So I got to that good conduct medal. I prided that. You know, I wanted to keep that, and that's how I got to be a PFC. When in the States, as soon as you got overseas 6 months, and you had good conduct medal, you got promoted to first, private first class.
Yeah.
And I know a guy he's busted down to a buck private two times because he done dumb stuff. One was getting claps from a Polak woman. Got the drips, and I told him, I said, we were in guard duty one night together, and we were guarding this displaced persons camp, Polish. The worst thing they done was this camp was when we liberated them, tore the fence down. Tore the fence down. Why, I don't know. Because now they're our friends. They're our friends. We're not going to shoot them. So now we're on guard duty. We're supposed to keep them inside the fence row. They'd go out and they'd say, "Halt! Get back in there!" They'd just wave their hands and keep right on going. So what we were doing that one night when I was in guard duty with this one guy, why, he brought this. He went in the camp. He said, "Watch this. You two of you, when you walk one direction, one walks the other, different times. Like your perimeter."
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we watched the police play, games there all day. I mean, and they were good at it. And he brought this girl out that one night, and he told me, I met her inside here. And I told him, I said, no. And he said, I'm going back in with her. I said, you're flirting with something bad here. I said, I said, she'll give you the clap. And turned out later he was going to fight me because he said, you apologize to her for what you were saying because he said, she can speak, she can understand English. I said, I'm not going to apologize to you. A week later he said, you were right. He said, I got the drips. But anyhow, then when we tore the fence down of this camp, well, now the Germans plant their garden out, one lived outside the camp, around the places. These Polish guys would go out and raid the garden, dig up the potatoes, and steal all the Germans' stuff, Well, at one time, while I was on the duty out there, a German shot this one Polish and killed him for raiding his garden. 5 minutes later, everybody in the Polish camp knew it. And they were coming out there, just droves of them. Well, everything they find, a club of some kind. Every time every German they could find, they was beating them. That one German woman come over there, and she's holding her arms up like that, I guess, trying to fend them off. Did big lumps on her arms from where they were beating her. She was jabbering to me, and I couldn't understand what she's saying. We had to call for backup, get more people out there. We had to call the MPs. But the worst thing they did was tear that fence down.
Yeah.
Then we also pulled guard duty at, this is Ludwigsburg, Germany. And there's a hospital there. Most of the patients were German soldiers. You know, they're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy, he come out to the guardhouse, and we were by the gate there, and he could speak English. He was a lieutenant, German lieutenant, and he told us he got hurt fighting the Russians. But I don't know if he did or not, but I didn't question, but I sort of befriended him, and he set me up with all these German prisoners in there, or not only prisoners, in the hospital, patients, getting watches, rings, nice pen sets or something, you know, everything but for cigarettes. And I had the cigarettes.
Yeah.
What I didn't sell, but I finally got out of that cigarette thing because they were starting to clamp down, and I started selling them to another GI buddy for like $40 a carton. He'd get $60 for taking a chance. But anyhow, this their lieutenant, Mitchell, the guy I did the tent with from Illinois, got to be a chaplain. He could have been a chaplain's aide. He went to the GI Bill and got to be a preacher. But I kept friends with him for about a year after we got out, but then either I missed a letter one time or he missed one. So, you know, he was married, didn't have any children, and he read his wife a 6-page letter every day, read his Bible. And I would say he was an influence in keeping me, you know, from going astray. Because we go to these towns after the infantry, the Germans would fight for, and pretty well bombed out, and you'd find all kind of stuff. And my dad was a barber. When that barber shop was just blown all up, I picked up, I still had the razor. Well, I gave all this stuff to my grandson. But this box that I made, I sent home. Anyhow, I found clippers, I found cloths around you I found a whole outfit for barber. You know, took it back to our tent, and Mitzi says, "What do you got there?" I said, "This." And I said, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Well, this barber shop down there was all blown up." I said, "I guess, you know, we maybe shot at it from, you know, before we advanced." He said, "Well, you know, that's stealing." He said, "That's stealing." So he conjured me into taking the stuff back. I didn't take it all back. I should have guessed, because I call it a German flag, but it's more like a banner you drop out a window, second floor, you know. Mm-hmm. It was longer than it was wide, and it was red, had a big white circle in the middle of it, and a swastika right in the middle of that. Mm. I got that, folded it all up and put it in this box and sent home. And now I asked my grandson, I gave it to him. I said, "Did you ever check that flag I'm telling you about?" I said, "You got stuff over there?" He said, "I hate to, because," he said, "all these years," he said, "it might fall apart."
Yeah.
Because I had it all, I folded it up nice, put it in this box. And anyhow, it's their lieutenant that we talked to at the hospital there. He set me up in getting cigarettes for the whatever, watches or cameras and stuff like that. He was from Ludwigsburg, Germany, right at the same town where we were at. he invited us down to his mom and dad's place for supper one night. Now, we're not supposed to fraternize, right? So we went down there and ate lunch. Well, Mitch and I, this guy I palled with, and I let them take the first bite of the food. You know. But anyhow, his dad was a major in World War One. He had that nice dagger, the dress uniform was hanging on their side. And then he, being a lieutenant, he had one with a different color. I think his dad's was sort of brown case, his was silver, his son. I got both of them for cigarettes. We went down and ate, and his mom and dad seemed like, just imagine ourselves if we were invaded, what would you do? And just like when we were separating us by points, I got moved around a couple different times. I came home with an infantry division, 101st, 100th division. Mm-hmm. I come home with the infantry. Anyhow, I was taking a shore up in New Jersey when we landed. Of course, I was seasick the whole way back, so I went over in the Queen Elizabeth. When I went overseas, Queen Elizabeth, they had tore down for troop transport. 25,000 people on that, including me. Coming backwards on the little tugboat. And the ocean was going like this in January. And I was seasick every day.
Boy.
Sergeant was coming to me and he wanted to know how I felt. He wanted to put me on KP, on a ship. I feel terrible. Even when I didn't feel terrible, I told him I did. But anyhow, so I got both their knives, nice dress knives.
Yeah. And
plus bayonet, German bayonet, American bayonet, which I didn't have. I had a M1 carbine, is what my sidearm was. But I found a 45 over there. On the, when we moved forward, the infantry had been fighting there, like 5 yards or 500 yards away. And then we move up maybe in their position. We tried to follow Patton when we first went over there, but he moved too fast for us. We'd get into place to fire, and he was already farther in our range to go. We're going over 19 miles. So we had a couple of places we didn't even fire. We put the gun in place and never fired. We had to go. So then they took us out of the 1st Infantry Division, Patton's division, and put us on what they call Corps Artillery. 13th Corps they put us in. So then that was putting us wherever they needed us. And so we were supporting the 28th Division, Bulge Division, Pennsylvania Division, okay? And whenever things were low right before the Battle of the Bulge, bad weather is what the Germans were waiting for, to eliminate our airplanes, from fighting. But anyhow, we were supporting the 28th Division. So we were 5 miles away. Being as I'm from Pennsylvania, sometimes when we weren't shooting, we walked. There's a couple other guys in my outfit was from Pennsylvania too, but most of us were rebels. We were down south in Kentucky and Tennessee and places like that. But anyhow, we walked down to the infantry guys. They lost a lot of casualties in D-Day. So they were all replacements. Never met a guy down there from Pennsylvania. Because they were all replacements. But they told us the Germans were up to something. They said it was a surprise. It wasn't a surprise. We knew it a month before. The Germans were up to something. So we were, they told us what to expect if they put on a offensive. And so You sabotage the gun so they can't use it against you, which would have been tough for them to turn it around, probably, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on your own. Either you wanted to be captured or you try to get away. I'd made up my mind right away that I was going to try to get away. But I heard later on that we lost more guys in the Battle of the Bulge than we did on D-Day. Mm. And that was hard for me to believe, because I landed at Omaha Beach 2 months after D-Day. And of course they had all the bodies gathered up, but a lot of equipment was still there. But anyhow, they had to get us some area to fire, you know. So what I found out was the Germans were on the offense during the Battle of the Bulge, and they weren't taking prisoners. What they were doing was tying the guy's hands behind their back, herding them out into an open field and shooting them. So then that would have made me was, you know, determined that I wanted to get away if I had a chance. A week before the Battle of the Bulge started, they moved us. They moved us up to a little town named Rot, or O-T-T, mm-hmm. which was about 5 miles from Rot Gun, in a bigger town. This is just like a little, if you blinked your eye, you missed the town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where we were in the position. I was in Germany, and as we fired day and night at Battle of the Bulge. There's a little church there, and we'd see truckloads and truckloads of bodies going back, because, you know, it snowed real bad over the Christmas of '44 during the Battle of the Bulge. And but I mean, when we moved forward, when they fought for a town, Germans, we never see any bodies, American bodies, except one time. They missed one time. A captain got shot. His helmet was laying beside him, shot right between the eyes, and went right through the steel helmet. They missed it, finding his body. He was a captain. But that's the only dead American we ever found. I didn't see him, but they told me they found him. But anyhow, we saw lots of dead Germans. Mm. But then I was telling the guys that they're, you know, they might be booby-trapping the Germans casualties, and why they go over and try to go through their pockets and find out what. That to me, that's no good. A couple of the guys did. One guy had a wedding band on his ring, on his finger, just like we do. It was all swelled up. He was dead a couple of days. He just took his bayonet and broke the fender and cut it off. Took his guy's wedding ring. To me, that's too much. And then, you know, the Germans, they tried to bomb England into submission, but they couldn't do it because the Germans would send their bombs over there to England, and the Spitfires, English pilots, they'd shoot too many planes down. So then they started going with this here buzz bomb. That was in a rocket over to England. Just put enough fuel in it to get to England, and then it would go off. And they kept sending them over our place all the time. And one time, we had a 90 millimeter ACOC outfit with us. Shoot airplanes. Well, when we got over there, we had air supremacy. So it wasn't too much, you know, German planes around. Mm-hmm. I saw the first German jet. We had guys shooting at them. The burst was about a mile or two behind each plane. You know, they weren't used to a plane traveling so fast. That German, he was way up there. And when the burst, see him, he was way up there going, he was shooting back here. And we did see a dogfight over there. You know, but that was really something. Because we were in position, and firing position, and saw all these planes, and they were up there diving, and you could hear them, you know, and After a while, you'd see one coming down. Couldn't tell if it was American or German. And after a while, looking at all this stuff going on, after a while I saw this plane coming low, like right down towards our gun. I could see the blinking of the firing coming. It looked like it was coming right to me, right at me.
Boy.
This plane was coming, just coming. I ducked behind the sandbags we had around our gun. And I don't know if it was a German plane or American plane. You know, he was overshooting us, but thank goodness. But then this one time he was over there, and we just come back from chow, and next thing you know, we heard all this banging going on, and here this German pilot was coming down across the road, and he set a couple trucks on fire up there. He was coming real low. He come down by Able battery, and we had the 30 caliber machine guns, and they started shooting at him. He's coming real low. Come down over our outfit, our 30 caliber machine guns were starting to shoot at him. I ducked down behind the bank, and all I did was load my M1 carbine, put one up in the barrel. I didn't even take the save off. I didn't fire. He comes down over our area, and they started shooting at him, and they started smoking. So he couldn't gain an attitude. Finally, after a while, we saw a parachute coming out. He's coming real low. It's the one that even opened up. And everybody started hollering, paratroopers, paratroopers. Everybody started shooting, except me. He was coming down like this, trying to, after a while, he went limp. They shot him. Before he hit the ground, they had his pistol, they had his boots, they had his wristwatch, they had everything that was any value stripped off of him. Our captain's running down through there, he says, quit your damn firing, quit your damn... They could have shot him, you know, shooting. He was running down through with his 45 in his hand. Our captain. He was an enlisted man, made it to the ranks and got to be commissioned officer. Captain Young. He's a good guy, I liked him. He shot us them buzz bombs with his 45. Boom, 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 boom. But anyhow, this one buzz bomb got launched. It just seems like they were launching them right over the hedgerow. You know, they're coming. This one got launched and started going like this, and like I say, we had these 90 millimeter anti-aircraft outfit with us. They were just off to where we could fire, you know, they're off to our area because concussion was terrible for our gun. Anything in front of us, you know. When the concussion just tear buildings down. Anyhow, these guys, 99 millimeters, here this buzz bomb comes down and landed almost in there where they had their sandbags, right in them. Anyhow, it was probably about 100 yards from us off the side, and we all hit the deck, and it exploded. And then after I looked, and then sticking in our camouflage netting around our gun, here was a piece of metal. So I got it out of the netting, and then I sent that home. That was part of the buzz bomb. And then that plane that we shot down, he crashed over there, and we went over there. Then after they shot him, the pilot, I went over and got a piece of metal off the plane too, after it exploded. So I sent that kind of stuff. Germans in that box I sent home. A big old box about that long probably, and about that wide, had all this stuff in. But then we couldn't send something home that wasn't couldn't bring home anything. You had to write down everything you put in that box, you know. Anyhow, so they're gonna, okay, now we're coming home, okay, so I picked up a 45 over there. And when we were doing too much, you could find shells laying all over the place, live shells. Because the BAR gun, that was a 45 caliber. And I used to pick up the shells, and I'd shoot tin cans and stuff with the 45. I wasn't allowed to have a 45, you know. I'd shoot the gun. Then he said, okay, now, have a showdown inspection here. He said, you have something you're not allowed to have. He said, you get the court-martialed. So I thought, well, I have a couple of ways. I could either challenge the showdown inspection, see if they have it, or get rid of the gun. So I threw it away. I didn't give it to the supply sergeant because he'd liable to snuck it home. I threw it away. They didn't have the showdown inspection. I probably could have brought that home at 45. But that was my good conduct medal I'd risked. I didn't want that to be taken away from me. But I actually could have stayed in the States. Because when they had the inspection for us to get our equipment up in New York on the way to go overseas, well, that physical examination, they found out I had a heart murmur. I never knew it. I was born with it. Well, now they said, you have a choice. You don't have to go overseas if you don't want to. The only one able-bodied guys to die. That to me don't make sense. They said you have a choice. You can either stay in the outfit, you went through all the physical exertion, doing everything in the States, and the marches, the runs, and the obstacle course, and whatever, you've done all that. You have a choice. You can either go with your outfit, or you could stay here in the States. I said, I want to go with my outfit. So they sent me overseas. Then I went through everything over there. They had 5-mile marches every day before breakfast. Like we had a little first lieutenant, just a little guy like me. He'd lead the charge in the 5-mile march. Okay, well, when you went in ranks, they went big guys first, little guys in the back, in the ranks, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I was always in the back. Okay. So now he leads the march. It's just a little guy. They have an ambulance running along beside because guys falling out, shin splints and all that kind of stuff from running, walking. I said to myself, you little son of a, if you can lead the guys, I said, I can catch you. So when they got almost to the end of the 5-mile march, I was right up there beside him. Right in front. All these big guys were lying off the side there. Oh, my legs hurt, All them big guys. Here I was, a little guy. I was right up beside that lieutenant. We got to the end of the march. I said, I hurt. My legs hurt, but I said, if you can do it, I can do it. But after you did so many of them, then you got sort of a little bit used to it,
Yeah.
But then they said I could run pretty good at 100 yards and stuff like that. So this maybe I shouldn't even done it. I mean, but they got me. They said they want you to run a race with a guy. Well, they got this guy. He was a tall, skinny guy, long-legged, and I thought, well, that guy's a long-distance runner, Then here I was. Okay, ready, set, go. Well, I go out like a buster. Jamie, I'm 40 or 50 yards ahead. After a while, I look back. Here he comes. We got around the track and we was on there. He was a mile ahead of me. I played out. But I could tell he was just... He wasn't doing any hurrying. I was just falling back. But then I never heard anything about what that was for. But it made me feel like an ant. I wish I wouldn't have ever done it, because I right away I looked at him and thought, I don't compete with that guy. But I could run pretty good for, Now what? But anyhow, so I had good things and bad things. We were stationed at a place that was about 15 miles from a big town in England. And we were called Packaging Park. It was a relay station. What was the name of that town? English town. But we had, we could go into town every now and then, and 269th, 270th, 272nd. There wasn't no 271st. Well, all stations, it's their staging area. And the guys would say, "What are you going to go into town? What are you going to town for?" "Oh, beat up on some of these other guys." And one guy, if you didn't go, they called you chicken. You know, I was chicken more than anything. A lot of times I wouldn't go because I drank a beer now and then, but I never got drunk, you know. And I thought, I'm not going in town. I mean, I'm not that big, and you know. But anyhow, this one guy, he said, "Oh, come on." I said, "We're supposed to be fighting Germans. We're not supposed to be fighting among ourselves." He come home from one of their excursions at night, and I thought he was going to lose his eye. Guy hit him with a bottle. Another outfit. But what they did was, they were on a bus or a big covered truck, and like every night when they'd go and leave, you had to get a pass. And then they had like 11:30 or 12 o'clock, I forget what the time was, when that bus or that truck would be leaving back to the station area. So, you know, be there or whatever. Well, this one night, I dated an English girl for a couple times, but I found out she was only 17, so that I quit dating her then after that because, you know, I was 21. And, you know, I thought they'll allowed to get us, you know, before. But she looked like she's a 21. She said she was 21, but found out her girlfriend told me she was only 17. So I was into her place on one night. So they had the tram buses. You know, the English run one. I never knew the English money, so when you pay for the ride, I just hold out what coins you had and let them take what you take, you know, for the fare. And so I come in this one night, and the truck was just pulling out, and here I was, the last truck out. Well, I'd been in town enough of times that I knew where Packaging Park was. Birmingham, England. That was a big town. Birmingham, England. Then also, I started walking. It was like 5 miles. Every now and then I'd hear a vehicle, and everybody was driving during the war with them little slit lights, you know. I'd hear this vehicle coming, so I'd just hide. I didn't know if it was MPs or what, you know. So I'd just get off the road. They'd go by, and then I'd walk some more. Now they had a guard at this area where we were stationed at, right? I had to get by that guard to get down to where where my bed was. Had these Quonset huts. That's we were staying in them. And I come sneaking through, but I didn't want to get into one of these other outfits area, because they were fighting in town. What are they going to do when they get back to the area, you know? So I had to be careful. So I was sneaking around, and there was a little bit of a moon that night, so that helped me a lot to negotiate, you know, to the area. I got back, and I only got it back in time probably about an hour before Reveille next morning. So I didn't know they had a chance to get into my work clothes, to the next day. And I had a bed that was 3 high. I was in the middle bed. And I don't know if, I didn't wake the guys getting in bed. I crawled up in there without them waking them up. But anyhow, so that worked okay, but I don't know who the vehicles were that I was hiding from. But what does it say, when I used to come into Bowling Springs, after I started school in here, I got to be, where the guys weren't challenging me anymore, town guys. I used to walk home about a mile and a half out there on Gutchall Road. And I was walking, it was before they paved it. It was just dirt road. And to this day, I don't know. But I was walking one way and then I walked right into another guy going the other way. In the dark, there was no moon. Mm. He was going one way and I was going the other, and we walked into each other. And he like that, kept on going. I scuttled on home. That's one scary thing I ever done. I don't know who he was, and you don't know who I was. But that was something.
So, before we started filming, you mentioned kind of what your job was with the artillery. You were manning what type of gun? What type of gun were you manning in the artillery?
Yeah. 240.
240.
Millimeter. We'd shoot 19 miles or shoot 5 miles if it was at a 90-degree angle. 88 pounds of powder. Recoil 60 inches. I don't know how long the barrel was. It had to be. It was transferred by M10 tank with the turn-off of 2 pieces, the barrel and the carriage. And when you got to a new area to be in, or instrument survey guys had it already lined up where we're supposed to go, where the site was supposed to be on the pin, right? Mm-hmm. And then you had to dig recoil pits for the things when they're recoiled. You had to dig a recoil pit for the barrel, and if you shot up to the guy, had to dig a hole for the barrel to recoil 60 inches into the ground. You had to dig that. Then all that ground you were digging out, you were putting in sandbags, put around the gun. And so then the crane, there would be a crane go with you. And they use this crane to take this barrel, or first the carriage, put it in place, and then bring the barrel and set it in place. And then they had a couple of guys that bolted fast, this and that. And then they had us guys, the cannoneers, out there on ropes to sort of guide the barrel, because it would, shift back and forth a little, guide it in place. And when we went into position at the Battle of Bulge, we were in this little town of Rot, we set up, it was probably 150, 200 yards maybe from a nice house. This little town wasn't fought for, so no damage there, right?
Yeah.
But they moved some of the people out of some of the houses. But anyhow, this nice brick house set there about 200 yards in front of our gun, right? Now our gun's going to be shooting over top of it. Nothing done to that house. It was good, Well, okay. When we first started shooting, you hear the glass, the windows going out of the, and then most of them were slate roofs. Then you hear the slate coming down off the house. When we left that place, it looked like a bomb hit that house from our concussion from our gun going off. We were shooting night and day over top of that house. I have a picture. I never had a camera when I was in there. I got cameras for a couple of guys, but Me like a dummy, I should have kept one of them getting with my cigarettes. But anyhow, but I have a picture of this when we went into position, a draught. And you could see this house ahead of a gun. I was on one of the ropes guiding the barrel under the gun. And I told my grandson's wife, I said, dig them pictures out. I sent home, I said, I can show you me on one of them doing, about the Battle of Bulge. And I don't know if they even opened that box since I gave it to them. But then I have another, this big box, and then I had another box. It was an ammunition box with a machine gun bullet. It was about that big square, and it was gray in color. And I think it was a French ammunition box. I had a lot of the money and all the little stuff like, coins and bullets that I found. See, the Germans started, when we started getting supremacy, why they get running out of metal to make bullets, they made bullets out of wood. They said it was better to shoot the Americans in the legs than it was to kill them. It took more people to take care of them when they're hurt than it is their dead body. And a lot of the first infantry action was to hedgerow. You on one side of the hedgerow and the Germans the other side. So instead of shooting to the body, they're shooting for your legs, try to put you out of commission. So I got a lot of different sizes of like a bullets of the wood, made out of wood. And I got some fragments of a hand grenade, and what else? Oh, I got one live M1 carbine bullet, a live one. I brought one of them home. It's loaded.
Yeah. So what was your job on the gun?
I was the number 7 guy.
Okay.
I was the guy that pulled the trigger. The lanyard.
Yep.
Now I don't know who did it when I had my R's off, like in the Battle of Bulge when we were shooting night and day. See, we double duty then. And that 360-pound shell, and the carriage that you set the shell on weighed 40 pounds. So that's 400 pounds, right? And it's set up with 2 handles on both sides. And 4 guys would carry that shell up to put it on a conveyor belt that went up to the barrel of the gun. All right? So when you cut the corners, I had a big guy from Kentucky, big farm boy, big husky guy. He'd pick up one side of the 2 handles. I'd pick up the other side, pick that 400 pounds between us up to the gun when we were half duty. Put it on this rammer conveyor belt, and then the guys would get on the rammer staff thing. They pushed it off of that tray up into the barrel and said, "Ready, heave," and put it up in there. And the shell had a rotating band out of copper. When you pushed up into the lands and grooves of that barrel, that gun, it wouldn't come back out after you. Then you put the powder in behind it. Then you shut the breech block, screw the fuse in, and hook the lanyard to it and hand the lanyard back to me. And that'd be farther from you doing your meter away from the gun when I'd off to the side a little bit. And being that I was a little ambidextrous, could do things with my left hand as much as my right. The chief of section always stood to the right or rear of the gun. When everybody was shooting, and whenever he dropped his hand, you'd pull the lanyard. So I would, instead of standing and looking over my shoulder at him with my hand, I'm right-handed, I'd just stand facing him with my left hand with the lanyard, right? And when he'd drop his hand, I'd pull her off. And one time we shot one, the rotating band broke, and it sounded like it was coming in instead of going out. You could hear it whining, I don't know how far that shell went with that rotating band broke. Then we was over there at one time, and there was a cow down the field. She's probably 500 yards away. She's down there grazing in front of the gun. Well, we got a command, firing command. So we fired and knocked her down, the cow. She's down there with her feet up in the air going like this. Finally, she got up to herself and went down through the field with her tail up in the air. We knocked her down. So when we had to go to the bathroom, and over there between rounds, and you know, a little here and there, like we always liked them down in front of the gun to dig a hole. When we were in England and France, we were supposed to, when you done anything, you're supposed to dig a hole and then cover the hole up. But when we got into Germany, you didn't have to bother filling the holes up. Just in England and France, though. But anyhow, a couple of times I was down there doing my business, and you got a fire command. Boy, I made sure I got up out of there. I wasn't going to be in front of that gun when it was going off.
No, was it? I mean, I'm sure it was loud even behind the gun.
Behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we couldn't live in a building when we were in, you know, in the combat. We had to dig holes. We dug holes in like little houses underneath the ground, and we used pine boughs and dirt and all kind of stuff for over top of them. And then if you used charge 1, 2, 3, and 4, most of it when we shot 19 miles, we using charge 4, supercharge. But every now and then we shot in between where you'd use different charge. Because the last command to load the gun is set the fuse quick, or you know. Then the guy would set the fuse, whatever the command was. Then that meant load that gun. So when you load it and shut the boot block and get ready to fire, and I'd be standing there with the lanyard in my hand, looking at the sergeant. So one time we was standing there and standing there and standing there, and these 2 or 3 guys would stand up there, the one that do the wheel to set the barrel up or set it left and right. They're usually big husky guys. They're standing up there, and I'm all tense, and the sergeant was standing back there like this, and the one guy up there says, "Fire that son of a..." Bah! I pulled the lanyard. And the sergeant said, "Sir, number 1 round on the way." I never got any criticism for firing the gun. The sergeant said something to the guy that hollered it. It wasn't the sergeant that did it. It was one of the guys up there on the wheel. "Fire that son of a..." So I was already tense, you know. Okay, it's going. Most of the time, if you're going to be work for a while, they dig you dig garbage pit for so your food that you didn't eat, and also like make a routine, you know, for doing your business. Dig a ditch, then you get up there and you'd stand there like this and do your business with the hole there on the bank. That's the way. And the guys used to, when you rocked during the Battle of the Bulge, you'd see people walking up and down the road over there, maybe 100 yards away. They'd shake their dick at them and stuff like that, you know. But you know, whatever. But that was, you know, you were wading snow up to your waist in during the Battle of the Bulge. But when I heard about all of the ones they killed, you know, but overrun them and took them as prisoners, they weren't prisoners very long. They just shot them. Then I just figured, hey, if there's any way possible, I want to get away.
How long were you in Germany for? How long were you in Germany for?
Let's see, 2 months. 2 months after D-Day, we landed on the beach, Omaha Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we were probably trying to follow Patton, maybe the first, maybe not even a month, to the way outrun us. So they give us about how many days you get across France. I don't know. But I think when we went to Rot, that was the first we went into Germany during the Battle of Bulge. And that was, during December of '44. And that's, I was only over there in England from about April '44. April, May, June, July, August. 4 or 5 months in England, and then, they say England's not that big an area, but we couldn't hear any of that shooting going on during the Battle of the D-Day. The ships were shooting at the German fortifications and all that, And I can't remember hearing any of that from where we were at Packington Park. Back Birmingham, England. But Ludwigsburg, that little German town. That was after the war was over. Actually, I should have got a couple more medals. I should have got for occupation for the German hospital we guarded, the displaced peoples, where they killed that German killed that Polak, and I should have got for Homeland Security. Anybody who went overseas should have got that during the war. As far as I know, I never got Homeland Security. I got a miniature of my discharge. I have it the regular size, but I got it down in the gap when they come home. On the back is my medals. Can you see?
Yeah. Good Conduct Medal, World War II, Victory Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 4 bronze stars.
See, I only got about 4 medals. But I should have got occupation, I should have got Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Yep, I got that done down in the town gap. And now, with the Cumberland County Honor Guard, we've been down there quite a few times, the burning guys. And actually, my daughter-in-law, Bud's wife, sister, she's buried down there beside her husband. He was a serviceman. He had a good job in at the barrack. She died. They were involved in 2016. They were involved in a real bad accident down at the casino. What is it called? Hollywood. Another woman cut him off, and the car flipped over twice. And my daughter-in-law was in, and tore up her right knee. She still wears a brace on her knee, and that was in '16, and so a couple of years ago. And she's still doctoring, and she's working. Yeah, she wants to work till she's 66, so she'll be 66 this year. And so That's Jeremy, my grandson's my son Bud.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so, and she lost her daughter or sister, so she's a nice person. There's 4 daughters. And after the automobile accident, shook them up. So her sister Pat and her sister Ann. Ann is the one that died then later. And shook them up, they bruised all over. But Cass was the only one that hurt bad. And then about 6 months after that, she planned to see my daughter-in-law's mother. She was married to a GI during World War II. And then he brought her over here. She was an English bride. And she divorced him. She had 4 girls to him. And then she divorced him and she married another guy with a GI. And they had 2 sons to him. So my daughter-in-law has 2 stepbrothers. Anyhow, so the 4 girls, and the one that died, she planned a trip about 6 months after they had the accident in '16 to go out and visit relatives out west, went clear as far as Washington State, driving, buses, whatever, and the four sisters went.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if she didn't have a premonition of something going to happen because of the wreck. Because she developed cerebral hemorrhage.
Mm.
It's bleeding in the nose and stuff. And then she died about 6 months after she come home from the trip. They were on a plane, they were in buses, they traveled different ways to visit relatives and friends. In fact, my daughter-in-law called me from, I think she said they were out of Denver, and she called me. She had a cell phone. But anyhow, but her sister died. They come home, and the sisters all got together, like on Thursdays, they go places to eat at night. They still do, even with her gone. But anyhow, her husband, he was getting dementia a little bit. I had a job down at the in the barracks. But he thought he heard the family talking about him, like they're going to put him in a home. And he shot himself.
Mm.
Killed himself. And he's buried down in the town gap. Now she's buried, she went down and cremated. And now she's going to get her name put on his stone. So anyhow, I've been down in town the gap a couple times with funerals. And I saw all the different stones they have down there. I don't know if you were ever down there or not. But anyhow, they got a nice area around the cemetery down there. But somebody told me they bury you down there upright. Like a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Like this, one on top of the other. I don't know. What they do when we were down there with the military funerals, they don't do anything until you leave. They don't take the casket away. But anyhow, so when we went down, after she passed away, the sister, now she wanted to be buried with her husband. Well, just so happened her stepfather and her mother has a stone down there too, right?
Yep.
But now, they didn't know if they could get it together. Well, we went around, there's a guide down there in the town gap. Everything is planned down there. The funerals and any visitation. You just all line up in your cars and then you wait for this guide. He comes in and he'll lead you to where you want to go. So I'd never been to the cemetery, down there before. So when we went down to see where she wanted to bury with her husband, the guide took us over to where her mother was buried and the girl's stepfather. But anyhow, all the family was there, and they took me along. and took us over there, and we kept looking at all these stones, and finally we found where his name was Francis, her stepfather, and and here and his wife, the girl's mother, was on one stone, and it just so happened that Frank, the one that committed suicide, was stoned right next to it. And now we're talking about years apart when these stones were put there. But how they got to be right next to each other, I don't know. But we found both of them, and now Anne, they had two boys. She had two boys. I guess they're going to have her name put on Frank, her husband's stone. But I never saw that down there before when I went to funerals. Because you go there, they got like a little place where the funeral procession's going on, and we fired the guns over here, and then I say you get your gun, the casket still stays there till everybody leaves, or the box, whatever. But anyhow, so it's like I say, and I kept, when I was in the service, and like I say, we rode with the gun, M10 tank with the turn off of it. We rode the cannoneers, which I was the cannoneer, rode right on the tank. You had to hold on, baby.
Yeah.
You had your duffel bag and everything. All your belongings there.
All those cigarettes and.
Yeah, and cigarettes. Well, they came later after the war was over.
Well, so we've been talking now for over 2 hours. So I still have more questions, but I can come back if you want to get lunch or something else. Finally get to that milkshake. I'd be more than happy to come back.
Friend drank the one, didn't she?
She did. She took the vanilla, so you got the strawberry.
Well, you didn't have to do that, but I was like, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Murphy, for speaking with me today. As I said, we'll get hooked up again another time to talk a little bit more. But I just want to thank you for today.